coming up today on the Prosperity Nation podcast.
But you know what? It's motivating. When you check that box done, there's something that gives you that energy and ignites you to do the next thing. Being able to break it down so you can get it done and get it done and get it done. And next thing you know, like, holy smokes, I achieved this goal. Welcome to the Prosperity Nation podcast. I'm Angie.
And I'm Elise.
And we're so glad you're here. Today, we're going to talk about achieving a goal. But before we actually do that, I got to know, Elise, I know you took Riggs, our mascot, our little Frenchie mascot, to doggy daycare for his assessment.
Yes.
Did he flunk or did he get kicked into doggy jail? What happened?
No, he passed.
Oh, good.
He was a good boy, but they did have one thing they said about him, which was that he was very high energy.
Oh, they were being nice.
Probably.
He needs some playmates, doesn't he?
Yes. Not me
So
right now.
Right. I know.
I mean, I love to play with him, but not while I'm working because he'll try to climb on me and dig at my leg. And
pros and cons from working from home and having our lifestyle of live where you work where you live, right?
Yeah, and I love it, but at times, it's a little much, but he passed.
Yeah. Well, good. Oh, that's great. Awesome.
Thank you for asking.
You got it. Well, look, we're on a 3-part series still. We're at the 3rd part here of our series of actually achieving a prosperity goal. And we talked about setting the goal. Then we talked about funding the goal. But how do you actually achieve the goal? Now, it sounds so basic and everybody knows, well, just go do it, right? And like we say all the time, well, then why didn't you do it?
Exactly.
Right? So our program that we have in the Prosperity Program breaks down the actual steps. We use 10 steps. There could be more or less. But the point is that you've got to get from where you are, which is an idea, into actually creating and bringing that thing to life. And that is harder than you think. When you break it down. In fact, it's easy. You think about any business out there, how easy it is to be able to have ideas for your business. But the people who get paid the most in our society are the ones who can actually bring the idea into fruition. And that is a lot harder skill than you'd believe, but it is doable. And what we care about is that you actually create a prosperous life, a life that brings you aliveness, that brings your dreams to life, and that they don't just die with you on your deathbed because you didn't have a skill of how to actually achieve a goal. This should be taught in schools, right, Elise? I mean, there's no such thing as goal achievement school, right?
No.
What are the actual things that it takes to achieve a goal, right? That's what we break down. That's what we're going to break down because we want you to actually get it done. That's our motto. I love done.
Duns are the best.
We do kind of geek out on this by tracking how many duns we get every day, right, on our stats. That's one of our stats, the number of duns.
It is.
But you know what? It's motivating. When you check that box done, there's something that gives you that energy and ignites you to do the next thing. And that's one of the keys to actually getting to a done on your goal is being able to break it down so you can get it done and get it done and get it done and get it done and get it done. And next thing you know, holy smokes, I achieved this goal.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem, in a lot of people's goals is they will set these goals, which are great, but they're so big. And it's not, there's nothing wrong with having big goals.
Right.
It's the fact that they are so big that they might seem so unachievable. So it's have the big goal, but now let's break them up into smaller goals so you can achieve them and check them off. And then, so yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I always would say, what's the difference between a vision and a goal? You think about that. Well, what is the difference between a vision and a goal? Well, a vision is so far out there that you can't see the steps to get there. But a goal is short enough in distance that you can actually see, if I do this and then this and then this and then this, I will get there. And so really your vision or your dreams are just a series of those goals.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to achieve a goal and these prosperity goals and taking this responsibility for creating prosperity in your life is finding those dreams, those things that actually you really, really want in life that make your life special and meaningful and purposeful and breaking them down into goals and then aligning your money and getting them done. But it takes that ability to know how to do that, to break it down. So the thing that we work with all the time is, all right, how do you actually achieve that goal? What do you actually do to achieve that goal? Since it's easy to do, let's do a vacation. Yeah?
Everyone loves a vacation.
Well, yeah, where would you want to go?
Okay.
Where's your dream vacation place?
Well, I don't know if this is a dream vacation, but for some reason, I cannot get this place out of my mind when I think about traveling. It's St. Lucia.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, what is it about St. Lucia?
What is it about? Well, it has like everything. Like I like to do outdoor stuff. So it has like a beautiful hiking, and it's not just like this flat, like Caribbean tropical island. It has like these great mountains that you can hike and waterfalls, but it also has beautiful beaches and you can do water stuff and boats and snorkel and all that. So it's just kind of like, to me, like perfect. And it's, I don't know.
I know, that would be amazing. Yeah. Okay, so here, let me ask you a couple questions around this goal.
All right.
So, if you took that goal, how does that fit into what brings aliveness to your life? What makes you have a sense of flourishing personally and financially if you had achieved this goal? Well,
I do like visiting other places, so I think it would be fun to go and experience a different culture. It's a little bit different. I've never been to the Caribbean. Well, no, never been to like those islands. And then
got it.
Yeah. I love outdoor stuff. So I think it was, it brings a lot of peace to me. Like if I'm hiking in this beautiful jungle, adventure, I don't know.
That's awesome.
I don't know about financially though.
Yeah, well, I guess, if it actually does give you more peace and you can bring that back home and then now you're better at your job and you actually can now flourish more at home, I can totally see how you can make that connection. I mean, we all need a break and we need to separate from it sometimes to get back into it.
Yeah, have a little fun.
Yeah, exactly. And so who else benefits from you achieving this goal?
Whoever I go with, first of all.
Yeah.
The country.
Who do you want that to go? Is it going to just be Riggs? Come on now, be honest. Or you got someone in mind?
I can't bring him. I think you have to have animals wait in quarantine.
Yeah.
So, no, just probably a good friend of mine.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. But that would be fun. Who else would benefit? Obviously, I'm supporting the country and tourism and the economy.
Yeah. Good. And then, if you come back and now you're more motivated, obviously the company's going to benefit from that, right? So what you're doing and what you're achieving is helping other people if it's a goal that actually is a prosperity goal. And so you got to recognize that, I think, and find those ways. Does my goal actually help other people or not? Usually it does.
I would say so.
Yeah. Even just the fact of you achieving a goal actually is a huge thing because your ability to achieve that goal actually sparks that motivation for others to want to achieve their goals. So even as simple as, let's say your first step in that goal is to buy the tickets for the trip. And it takes you a couple weeks to figure out the logistics and get all that done. And then, bam, I got my tickets. I mean, think about when you share that story. That's why social media is so popular, right? Because people want to see other people's successes. It motivates them to become more successful. So, it is important to recognize that your actual achievement of a goal is what actually brings life to other people's dreams and lives as well.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I know there's been times when I've accomplished something and a lot of people, commenting. So
yeah,
like
your marathon.
Yeah,
exactly.
I guess we have to talk about that again. But that or other things that I've done, recently in all my training and certification. People definitely see that, and they, it inspires them to do it too.
It does, yeah. Or find their dream and do it. If you can do it, then they can do it too.
Exactly.
So here's the other part about goal setting and actually achieving the goals is that not only do you have to prepare in advance, but then you have to lay out the actual steps, which is part of the preparation. Then you have to go do it and don't stop doing it until you get to a done. And that last final done is setting your next goal in that chain so that it keeps going. It's a perpetual thing. And so there's always those parts of it. And what most people don't realize, and probably why goals usually fail, is that the planning is more than half of the work. More than half of the work. If you sit down and do the planning, you're going to have a much, much higher likelihood of success of that goal because you've thought through the potential things that could come up and you've already set the pathway for success. So on your goal, I would just say, what potential obstacles could get in the way of you achieving that goal?
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I'll just name a few. I mean, money. There's always the money, just needing the money to buy the plane ticket and the lodging and then extra for fun and all the other stuff. Scheduling. So, scheduling on work and all that. And obviously, yes, I need to coordinate someone to watch rigs. And so I would say scheduling is probably part of it. Then also not just scheduling around work when I could go, but then making sure that work is covered or what's the plan so that doesn't fall apart. Yeah.
So what else? I mean, what's an obstacle that could get in the way that actually would stop it? Could be random things like a bad storm or something, right?
Weather.
These are all potential obstacles.
That's true.
Right?
I mean, because I'd also want to go when the weather's nice. I don't want to go at like hurricane season or something.
Right.
That would be stupid.
Exactly. But I think one of the points is that if you recognize that there are these potential obstacles that could come up, you can prepare for them in advance because you can't just stop the goal because an obstacle got in the way. And that's where we become victim to the circumstances. And we say we just give up on our goals because it gets too hard or there's too many hard things in the way or the weather gets bad or whatever. And so we want to make sure that we have a plan to handle that so that you already know that if that obstacle comes up, boom, this is what you're going to do. And it could just be really simple. It's like, okay, if a huge storm hits, at the time I'm supposed to go to this beautiful trip, what are you going to do? Right? There's a lot of things you could do. Well, I'll just go buy my ticket and go to, Australia instead. Or, I'm going to, postpone my trip for 6 months or I'm going to do whatever. But knowing that these things could come up and having ideas already in hand so that if it happens, you don't just go into apathy. Oh man, I knew it always happens to me. I never can do this, and say, no. I had a plan for this. I had a backup plan or a contingency plan, basically, for if this obstacle comes up. If you don't have the money to buy the tickets, what would you do? Right?
Figure out how much. I would see how much I need, and then I would figure out do I need to work more? Do I need to get another job?
Right.
How do I save to get the money? Basically.
Yeah, exactly. You come up with a contingency plan, exactly, because it's just there's so many obstacles that could potentially come up that can stop your goal. There's way more obstacles than there are paths to success for you, so you have to be strong enough to stay on the path to success. And the way that you do that is you start visualizing and thinking about potential obstacles and come up with a handling plan before you get them. And then usually that makes them evaporate and not even show up anyway. It's kind of funny that way.
Yeah. It's like you hear people about weddings and they are their outdoor weddings in like April and they have this like whole plan for if it rains and it doesn't. But they're ready.
Exactly.
They're ready in case it rains. They have the tents lined up and all the other stuff. But
right.
Sometimes it does, but
Exactly. That's so true. Yeah. The other thing that I really like, that we really anchor into is doing what we call a pre-success story. So it's like writing a success story after you've done something, what amazing, how amazing that thing was that you just did, but writing it before you do it. So I would say to you in that case, all right, pretend like you just got back from that vacation and tell me about what it was like. What would you say?
Oh my gosh. I'd probably be like, it was the greatest time. I had so much fun. I saw really cool stuff and animals and I went on a boat and swam. I don't know. I think those are a few things.
Right? You're coming back. You're excited. You're saying the things that were your dones. I went on a boat. I went, on a bike ride, hiking.
Yeah.
Well, now that you know that's what you want your experience to be like when you're done, it can empower your better planning to make sure you do those things. Because now you got a plan for going on a boat and going hiking, which you maybe didn't know until you wrote like what it was like when you were sharing the end of it with me or someone else. So, all of this planning, what it does is it lays out that framework so that you can just be fully successful when you go to actually do the action steps. But I tell you what, so many times we quit on our goals. We give up on our goals. We just stop. Or we change our mind and say, I don't want to go to college anyway. That's why I'm dropping out. So I think I'll just go do this instead. Or, I thought I wanted to play piano, but now, I don't. I don't really want to learn that. So we start making excuses for our failed goals. But we originally had a goal that was really important, but then didn't do it. Why? Like, why do we fail so goals? We talk about these steps to achieving goals are so easy, right? You just plan ahead, you lay out the action steps, and then you go do the action steps and you set a new goal. Super easy. But why don't we do it? It's like I think you've given me the example of losing weight. Why don't we do it? We know exactly what the formula is, but why?
It's the same reason why people pay personal trainers, we all know how to do something, like how to, lose weight. You eat better, eat less, you just move more. That's it. Not much more to it.
Right.
But everyone's fat. So, I mean, not everyone, but, I think statistically America is like, I don't know, over 50% are obese. But still, it's there's the accountability.
Like 95% of us aren't where we want to be. No matter what level that is, right?
Right. Yeah, but it's the same reason why, we pay other people to help us, hold us accountable for those things, for eating less, eating better, moving more, but yet we know how to do it. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so it's understanding why do goals fail. And if you do the pre-planning to it, you'll be able to recognize those things that always get in the way, and you have a plan to handle them. Whether your goal is a losing weight goal, a traveling goal, a funding retirement goal, why do you quit? It's because you haven't broken down the steps to where you can get dones on it consistently. It's kind of, I like the weight loss thing because, we all want to try diets and, exercise. We always just say, well, we should do this. So we just should on ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, stop shooting on yourself.
Stop shooting.
But, you can't just do it. You have to break it down. And that's the next parts of it is being able to take that goal that you want, that traveling, that trip that you had, and break it down into some targets. Okay, first I need to get all of the, hotels and flights handled. And then I need to coordinate all the activities that I'm going to do on there. Then I need to rearrange my work schedule and then I need to go. But there might be 100 steps on each one of those targets. And this is what I'll be honest. I think this is really what it is for me. Why I always fail so many goals is because I think it should be so easy to just go from point A to point B. And I always forget that there's like 1,000 steps that you have to do from point A to point B. And so this is what stopped that for me is being able to say, okay, let's break this down into some targets and actually write down the little tiny steps that it takes. Because then at least you can know where you're getting stuck on it. Because that's that point. You change your mind. Oh, it's too much work to go to St. Lucia. I'm not going to go. Or I'm never going to get the time. You start making all these reasons. But actually, there was just one step in there that you didn't break down enough that usually if you just did that, you could overcome it and keep rolling again.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of that, too, is just making the big goal a lot smaller and more attainable along the way. It's like, if you want $100,000 or whatever, that might seem just so far away. And so you get discouraged when you don't have $100,000 in your account in a month. But if you then say, okay, I want $100,000 by this date, and then I'm going to have $10,000 by this date, $20,000 by this date, and then you break it into the smaller targets, then it's like, once you start hitting those, you build momentum. And you get excited and things start to roll a lot faster because you're actually hitting the goals, even if it's a smaller goal of a big goal.
Yeah. And that's why we think it's so important to just set small goals that are like 2-week goals. Because if you can achieve a 2-week goal, then you can achieve the next 2-week goal and the next 2-week goal. And next thing you know, you've achieved a goal that took you 6 months because you just achieved those smaller goals along the way. And every time you get it done, it actually ignites that impulse for getting that bigger goal done. But if we set that too big and don't know how to break it down into action steps, it's really hard to get. This reminds me of a story, a real quick story here. I was in this training on how to actually write programs and set goals and actually break it down. And I realized that in this exercise I was doing, it was like, write yourself a program to get something done that you can do in the room. Like, okay, figure out something in the room that you could do, and then write yourself a program. the step of how to do it. So I picked up there's this bowl of like rocks in the room. I said, okay, I'm going to set myself a program, a how-to, a to-do list, basically, of how I'm going to organize those rocks, that bowl of rocks. This is an example. So I sat down and I said, okay, wrote it all out. First, I'm going to put the rocks on the table. Then I'm going to sort the rocks by big rocks, medium rocks, small. Then I'm going to sort them by colors and I'm going to tally them and I'm going to make a list and I'm going to do that. And I'm like, okay, basics. So I started doing that. Move the rocks, check off the done. Organized them, checked off the done. And then this is where it all hit me. It got down to where in the bottom of the bowl were all these little rocks. And I literally said to myself, that's good enough. And I quit. I just estimated, I think, or said, okay, I'm done. And that's what I was always doing. That's what I realized. I would always do that. I would get the planning in order. I would start on the actions and I'd get to a certain point where I didn't want to get into the details anymore. And I would throw it away. I'd stop. And the discipline of breaking down the steps and actually doing those little steps is actually what allows me to achieve so many goals now. And that is the hard work of the discipline of continuing to break it down so you can do and don't quit. Do and don't quit. And then make sure at the end of that don't quit, you just have the last step in my program is to set my next goal. And then it becomes a cycle. And then you can keep it going. So anyway, that's my little story on that. And I tell you, it works. And we do this with our clients. We do this with ourselves now. And it's like, if you want to have a prosperity, if you want to be in charge of your prosperity, you want to create prosperity in your life, you've got to know how to set prosperity goals. You've got to know how to fund prosperity goals. And then you've got to know how to achieve them. And that's what the whole point of today's episode was. It's like, break it down and actually get to a done.
Exactly. Make them achievable. Achievable dones. There's nothing wrong with that.
So, we want to hear what you've done or maybe what you haven't been able to do. Where are you getting stuck on achieving your goals? Like, why do you keep failing at a certain point? What do you do to overcome when you get to those points where you want to quit and you don't, and you actually get to it done? What did you do? We want to hear your stories too. We want you to achieve your goals because you are the tree of life for others when you actually do that. So, we want to share your successes with everybody in our community as well too, because we want each of us to achieve our goals. That's the only way it's going to ever work.
Exactly. So you can share your stories or anything else you'd like to share with us at stories@prosperitynation.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at The Prosperity Nation. And as always, go ahead and like and subscribe.
Awesome. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on social media for the latest episodes, updates, and more. Like and subscribe to videos from us on YouTube and find out more at prosperitynation.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on the Prosperity Nation podcast.